As a millennial, franchises like Thundercats, He-Man, Transformers and Ghostbusters should appeal to me. I'm not a fan of any of them, but when it comes to Ghostbusters in particular, I have seen most of the first one and remember some of the animated series. It's just not something that's ever really appealed to me for some reason. I'm well aware of the female reboots, which, if I even try to criticise, I'll get cancelled. But today I'm looking at Ghostbusters Afterlife from 2021. I'm also aware of the sequel, Frozen Empire from 2024, but I'll be invoking the Swayze rule and only reviewing the nominated movie. Well, that's the prerequisites out the way. Here's my review of Ghostbusters Afterlife. Callie, a single mother, alongside her two children Trevor and Phoebe, moved to Somerville, Oklahoma after Callie's father dies in his farmhouse. The town only knew him as the dirt farmer, and as they've been evicted from their own home, the family move into the run-down farmhouse and integrate into the town. Trevor gets a job in a local roller burger joint and meets Lucky, a young girl who he has a crush on. Phoebe, meanwhile, joins a summer school and meets Podcast, a boy who loves the paranormal, and the teacher Mr. Gruberson, who's secretly investigating the mysterious earthquakes in town. Phoebe discovers this and the two bond over their theories. Meanwhile, there's something strange in the neighbourhood as things start moving around the farmhouse and the kids discover mysterious equipment and a car. The equipment is recognised by Mr. Gruberson as Ghostbusters equipment, and after a small amount of research, Phoebe determines that her grandfather was Egon Spengler, a member of the original group. Phoebe and Podcast learn more about the ghostly goings-on and even track down a ghost that eats everything, which they nickname Muncher. Trevor meanwhile fixes up the car, Ecto-1, and takes it for a ride when he meets Phoebe and Podcast, where they together track down and capture Muncher, but do a lot of damage to the town in the process, causing them all to be jailed. Whilst in jail, Phoebe calls the original Ghostbusters number and speaks to Ray, who tells them about the group's original breakup, which started with slow business and led to Egon taking everything and leaving one day. After being bailed out by Callie and Gruberson, Callie discovers her father's lab, and that despite him abandoning his family, they were still in his hearts. She is then possessed by Zuul, whilst Gruberson is possessed by Vince. Vince and Zuul are gatekeepers to Gozer, the spirit defeated in 1984 by the original Ghostbusters, and their escape from their sealed prison in the mines is the cause of the mysterious earthquakes in town. Lucky, Trevor, Phoebe and Podcast suit up and track down Gozer's lair, where they see Gruberson and Callie turn into dog-like beasts and Gozer get free. Their initial plan to trap Gozer is partially successful, but when they get chased back to the farmhouse, Phoebe realises that Egon set a huge trap to capture Gozer. However, just like when he tried to trap her, the electrics fail and Gozer looks to have the win. However, they're stopped when Ray, Winston and Peter of the original four arrive and try to trap Gozer like they did 3 decades before. However, the same trick doesn't work twice and all appears lost. With the combined efforts of the new and original Ghostbusters, complete with the ghost of Egon showing up to help, Gozer is trapped and defeated. Callie and Gruberson are saved, and there's just enough time for the two generations to interact before Egon's ghost hugs Callie and dissipates into the night sky. As a standalone film, Ghostbusters Afterlife is a fun action film that's a good time, but not in the greatest of all time category. It's a 7 out of 10 rating on IMDb, and that's a fair and warranted score. As someone who isn't a fan of Ghostbusters, I think this is fairly welcoming to newcomers, and I'd be more open to the franchise moving forward. As a film which follows the legacy, this film reeks of Star Wars The Force Awakens. A film that does so many of the original's plot points, it just doesn't feel like an original movie. Between the same villain, the stand-in for Slimer in Muncher, and a very similar vibe, Afterlife goes too much into retelling as opposed to paying homage. That isn't my biggest issue with the film though, it's the ending that feels kind of icky.
Oh, go.
There's a fine line between loving tribute and creepy. Alien Romulus did it badly, Family Guy have done it well. I don't feel comfortable about how Harold Ramis's image is used as a ghost to help save the day, interact with his original crew and his family before fading into night. The discourse I've seen is that it's a touching tribute. However, I feel that in the 14 years after Ramis's death, it's creepy and just gives me the ick. Small note while I'm on this though, all ghosts are supposed to be trapped at the end, but for some reason Egon isn't? I don't get it. Let's talk cast and characters. Now, Phoebe's character is the most developed, the most interesting, and really well played by McKenna Grace. It's established early that she doesn't show emotion like regular kids, and despite the events she gets involved in, she never loses focus, and the changes made to her character are letting other people in without losing who she is. Sadly, that's about it for interesting characters. Trevor and Callie are throwaway despite being part of the main family. Lucky is incredibly underdeveloped. We learn almost nothing about her, and she ends up as a damsel in distress by the end, not actually being part of the final action that takes the villain down. Paul Rudd as Gruberson is essentially any Paul Rudd role in recent times. He's starting to fall down that Tommy Lee Jones Ryan Reynolds trap. What I never put together before was Annie Potts, who I know best as Mima from Young Sheldon, is the receptionist Janine from the original film. She reprises her role here, and her New York accent is impeccable. So's her Texan accent, come to think of it. Well, the characters may be one-dimensional, but the visual effects certainly aren't. Everything looks great, with a mix of 1984-style props and modern-day CGI that looks like it belongs. The action too is great, especially the chase scene, and the story makes sense despite not being very original. There's a reason the original is beloved. As someone who isn't a big fan, I don't think I appreciated all the references to the original. I got some of them. The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, which for some reason had death wishes. Lines of original dialogue such as "There is only Zool." And the mid-credits scene which has no business being there other to get that nostalgia high. They brought in Sigourney Weaver just to do a mid-credits scene. Afterlife did well at the box office, unsurprisingly, making $204 million at the box office on a $75 million budget. And aside from the aforementioned sequel Frozen Empire, there was also a Sony Picture Animation film in production, which as of writing is coming soon according to their website. It seems the franchise isn't quite dead yet, and frankly I'd be willing to go along for the ride this time. I reviewed Mad Max Fury Road and stated how it didn't hook me, and although Ghostbusters Afterlife hasn't quite got there, it is something I consider getting into going ahead. This is by no means an absolute must-see. However, Ghostbusters Afterlife is a decent standalone film. Yes, it's unoriginal, but the earlier comparison to The Force Awakens is more and more apt, as I enjoyed that one too. Ick aside, I can recommend Ghostbusters to newcomers. There's nothing to be afraid of.
Thank you for watching this video. If you like what you see, please give this video a like and share it on social media. Maybe leave a comment below about what you thought of this video. And if you'd like to see more, please subscribe for more content. If you'd like to support me in other ways, you can buy merchandise at bradleyj.tmail.com, where you can buy t-shirts, tote bags and more. Or you can become a Patreon at www.patreon.com/BradleyJVoices for just £1 a month.
Coming up next for the Film Review Open Challenge is Solitary Man. For now though, thank you very much for watching.